Okay. Okay. So I've started the recording and let's get started. People can keep coming and all that. If they come, that's fine. Okay. So thank you all those who have joined the session. So, you know, like I said in my WhatsApp or my messages on LinkedIn and all that. So our assumption is that to make a better world, all of us have to get involved. So I was speaking with my 21-year-old niece who is in America, and she is a bit of an activist. So she was saying that, you know, that our generation, that is those of us who are over 60, have basically effed the world. Okay. So she was saying that you guys have really screwed up the world on many things, whatever. So now you guys should fix it. So I said, okay, even if I agree with you that our generation has screwed up the world, what incentive do we have to fix it? And how do you think that we are the best people to fix it? Because if we are the people who screwed it up, then why are we going to fix it? Right? So anyway, I won't belabor this point, but the point is that if you see all over, there are many things which need to be improved. And what a lot of us are doing is that we are not involved in this. Some of us don't even vote. Even if we vote, we say our vote is going to be wasted. And then, you know, we know that there are many bad things in this system. So we talk about them. You know, we have drawing room conversations and whatever. And then we forget about it. So basically the geriatric people are essentially running the world, right? Especially in India. I mean, if you take bureaucrats, regulators, judiciaries, politicians, and you take the average age, it is very high, right? In some countries, this is changing. But it's quite true that, you know, if we think that the youth today are better than the geriatric people, then they should have a greater say in running the world. Okay, and that's not happening. So, I think a lot of people agree with this, but they just don't understand how this can be possible, right? So I will stop talking pretty soon, and then we'll go into questions and answers. But so if there is this one assumption that I'm making is that a lot of us are want to make the world better. We are kind of frustrated because we don't think the world is getting better, but we don't know how, right? And this whole GPOS and GPL and RUCC is just an example of one idea that can change the world for the better, possibly, if it works. So, all these are just attempts to answer the how question, right? Now, if you do decide to stay for all this and the discussions and all, then, you know, there would be fairly specific asks, which we will get into as it's mentioned in this message, on what can you do, right, to make this how become a reality. Okay. So that is what we're going to talk about. After I finish speaking and we finish the Q&A on my part, then Swapnil will speak on, he has spent a lot of time on coming together with a first cut design of the product design of what is this GPOS. So he'll talk to that. And I think we'll all listen patiently to his presentation. And then again, we'll have a detailed question and answer. And then Balakrishna will talk a little bit about the technical things that he's thinking about. Most probably next week, the discussion will be about the technical part while the product part keeps moving along, right? So that's the plan for today. Now, at any point, if people want to leave, they're free to leave. And if more people join, they'll join. Okay. So with that, there was another thing that I had mentioned about this concept of T1. A lot of people in India, especially those who have dealt with the government and all those kind of things, they know that when the government tenders, there used to be a process where the lowest cost tender would win. So that was the thing called L1. And now the government also is changing by bringing in some technical factors and saying we're going to give more weight to qualitative factors and technical factors. And it's not always going to be L1 which wins. So that L1 system is being modified. But there is one other thing that a lot of people miss in the government, in the private sector, not only in India, but all over the world. So one of the things which I have found very useful and which helped me a lot in my career was this concept of T1. Now, when I posted this, someone said, oh, we should have T1, we should have O1, right? Which is like optimal thing. For everything, of course, optimal is always better. But the question was that person who posted that didn't even know what was T1, what was T1 in my mind. So I just have a question now for all of those who are here. What do you think I meant when I said T1? I'll just be curious. Anyone who wants to volunteer, please unmute yourself and just say what you think T1 is. Okay, don't be shy. It's interesting discussion. So Swapnil, do you want to start? What do you think T1 is?
I think is T1 something related to putting emphasis on the quality aspect along with the lowest price, like that you're talking about?
Okay, so Swapnil says quality. Anyone else has any other kind of thing on what he thinks?
Initially, I thought like it was the terminal one that some of the airport says. So but yeah, that's T1 means that technical. I think for as per my perspective, is it somewhat not cost efficient, but it will give you the result with some technical specifications.
Okay. Anyone else? Neil, Pranjal, Prince, Rupesh, any comments? Any of you have?
I have no clue what T1 exactly.
Okay, good.
I also don't have much to say, I would say.
Okay. Neil, do you have anything to guess on what T1 might be?
Like when I heard T1, I thought of something, it would be something related to the stock market or something like that. But I was like, okay, this is not a discussion.
Okay, cool. And Rupesh, anything? What do you feel?
No, sir, I'm not clear about the thing.
Okay, cool.
Might be timing and the thing, but not clear.
Okay, so at least what was in my mind, and I purposely kept a little bit of this thing as a suspense thing, was it's time to market. Okay, so to make this clear, I'll give you an actual live example, which was many years ago when I was heading a business unit in Citibank. So I needed some software to be built, and this was at least 25 years ago. So at that point, and this may be very true even now in banks, that most banks have something called a core banking system. And if you touch that core banking system, it's very hard to touch it. And you have to wait in a long queue. So if you're trying to do something innovative, then you have to find some other way. So this was true 25 years ago. I don't think very much has changed. Maybe Balakrishna can tell me if, because he works with a bank, but has that changed, Balakrishna? Or is it...
No, like just like you said, that core banking is a very elite kind of thing that we cannot change its process, or even we can't change its technology from version from 1 to 2 or 3. That is a very, as you said, that very elite thing it is to do.
Yeah, it takes very long, and the
Correct.
approval process is like crazy, and whatever, right?
Correct.
Well, it affects every damn thing. Right. So now, of course, technology has changed and you can work on the edges and stuff like that. But at that time, what we had figured was that if we build some stuff on the outside and then just use core banking as a black box and just feed the accounting entries to it, then we can probably do something, which is somewhat more responsive, innovative, etc., etc. Right. So I needed this piece of software to be built. Okay. And I asked certain vendors to apply. Right. And most of these were smaller companies. They weren't like even at that time, Infosys was a very small company. Right. There weren't these giant companies in India at that time. So all these companies were relatively small. They were very hungry for business. Everybody wanted to work with a name like Citibank. So I had no problem in getting proposals. But the way I requested the proposal was, I said, like, what is critical for me in this project is how quickly you can deliver a very high piece of quality software to me with which I can launch my product in the market. Okay. And so one vendor bid, let's say $100,000, another vendor bid $200,000. But the vendor who bid $200,000, which was double the price of the first vendor, the person who was interacting with me, their relationship manager, was somebody I could vibe with. I felt I could communicate with this guy. And they said that they will deliver a really good piece of software in 1 month. The other guy said it would take them 2 months. Right? Now, 1 month, 2 months, everyone will say, how does it matter? And the cost is much lower. Right? But if you do the math, right, like I was saying that 12 months from when I launched this product, I expect that the revenue I'm going to get from this product is going to be $1 million a month. Right? I think not 1 million, but say $500,000 per month. Now, that delay of 1 month is going to cost me a lot, right? So which vendor should I choose? Okay, so now the question is that since I was a hard negotiator, I told this guy, I said, okay, you are telling me you will deliver in 1 month, but are you willing to sign a penalty clause and a bonus clause and a stiff one at that? Right? Now, this guy was actually willing to do that. And so I ended up selecting that particular vendor, even though it was twice as more expensive. And, I worked closely with the vendor and we got a great product. We got a great piece of software, which worked well. We went through the user testing and everything and then launched the product on time. And it turned out to be a pretty good product. Now, why does this matter in the government context? So the government tenders, suppose the government says, okay, in this particular district where I'm using this district as a lab, I want to end poverty, material poverty. Right? So I want innovative proposals from world-class companies which are well capitalized. Give me your proposal. And I want performance guarantees from you that you will deliver the proposal and how you will do it, what will be my costs, and what will be the time you will take to get this to market. Okay. Now, let's say one person says that, I will get 80% of the households out of poverty within 2 years. Another says, if to get 80%, it will take me 3 years. Okay, but I can do 60% in 2 years. Now, if you have 20% of the people who are going to remain poorer, and let's say everything else is equal between the two, then what is the cost of that? Right? If you say that being in poverty can cost you lives or decrease the quality of your life dramatically, then the cost of that is really, really high. Right? Now, this is not very well understood either in the private sector or in the government sector or all over the world. Right? But India is particularly bad, because here we say GST took 14 years before it was implemented. NPCI, from the time the concept got started to when it was rolled out, took 10 years. Okay. Agnipath, which now there's a lot of controversy and all that, took 2 years of discussion before it was launched. And then even after it was launched, there was controversy, right? So what I'm saying is that there is a huge cost of delay, right? And that is the mindset change I was talking about in terms of moving from L1 to T1. Okay, with that said, let's move on to the third piece. And I know I've taken a little bit extra time, but it's fine. I think we have time. So the third piece is the one of rock stars. So I just wanted to clarify what are the kind of rock stars that I'm looking for. So I'm looking for people who want to become rock stars in what I call global disruptive innovation. Okay, which is something that I have been a fairly good practitioner at. So I think in the past, I have been a rock star. So just like, you have Sachin Tendulkar in cricket. So, Sachin Tendulkar, when he was young, there was a coach, some Ramakant Achrekar, who coached him. And said to have played a significant role in Sachin becoming a rock star. So my thing is that if I can get two people, and I've posted what I'm kind of looking for and how they have to apply, and it's a very complex process because I want to see that the people who apply are really rock stars and they are coachable, because otherwise I don't want to spend time. Because you can't coach someone who's not coachable. And then the other question is, do they really want to do disruptive global innovation? And am I the right coach? So just as I would be looking for a rock star, the rock star would be looking for a coach. And maybe I'm not the coach. Maybe there are other people. Maybe they don't need a coach. So that is the process that I'm looking for. And one of the specific asks I have of all the people who are attending is that you may know of some rock stars, or if this whole thing, the search for the rock stars becomes like a viral thing, then maybe somebody can join and they can be from any country, anywhere in the world. They don't have to be from India. Okay. So that is the thing on the rock stars. So 3 things I talked about. One is how do we get involved to make the world better? 2 was this whole thing about T1. And the third thing was rock stars. So does anyone have any questions on what I said? I'll be happy to answer them. And after that, we'll move to Swapna.
Hi Sanjay, I had a question on that. As you said, they can be anywhere from the world. I'm actually residing currently in Munich, Germany. We had interactive session, I guess 1 month ago or so, if you remember. We were like, yeah. Exactly. So I think we have a couple of people, but I've been following your feed on LinkedIn and Twitter, but I actually didn't came across the thing you just talked about. Maybe I'll just check it and we can separately have a discussion on it, because I think, we run the startup community here in Munich metropolitan area, and we have like around 3,000 members right now, and they're like really, they're like exploding with potential, I feel like. And
so it's a very organized process, right? And Germany loves organization, right? It's got engineering in its blood, right?
Yeah.
So the process is very organized, like there's an application process, and it'll be a long process. I mean, but it's like the bar to become sort of my apprentice, so to speak, is pretty high. And, of course, the relationship can break at any time. But I do think that I have a fair amount of knowledge to impart, which could benefit the right person. And they could be in any part of the world, any gender, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? But I've said that they have to be between 21 and 30. 30 is my cutoff age. If they're under 21, I think they're a bit too young.
Yeah.
So, so that's not to say maybe I'm too biased on the young part, because like Bill Gates was a rockstar at 14, but I'll take that risk. Okay. So after this session, with the recording of this video, I will repost that application link. So you will have that.
You might have maybe already posted it on LinkedIn.
No, I've already posted it, but I post so much that it can get lost. Right?
No, definitely. It sounds something for me. It sounds something for so many people whom I know. So
yeah. No, and I would encourage people, if they think that there is an 80% chance that they are very excited about this, then apply, I mean, it's like applying to Harvard Business School or something, like
I definitely believe in that, like personal mentor and personal coaching is like,
who knows, right? So and it's a two-way process. Like, so suppose you apply to Harvard Business School, Stanford Business School, whatever, Wharton, etc., you get acceptances from all these, right? Then you have to choose which one will I go to, right? So it may be people who apply, once they go through, once you have detailed interaction and all that, then they find, hey, this is not, I do want to do this, but I could do it. I could find a better coach, or maybe no coach, or whatever, and do it, right? So what I'm saying is that I would encourage people from all over, whether they're from India. There are some people who've said that they're going to apply, and they're based in Israel.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just fine. I mean, it's
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So any other questions?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Anything on T1 or, the how to make the world better type of thing? And yeah, so Prince, the other thing is that the project that the Rockstars will work on, if they get, if we find them, is going to be the GPOS project. Okay, because you need a project, right? I mean, like, otherwise it's all theory, right? I don't believe in theory. You learn by doing stuff.
Yeah.
So that is the project. But the GPOS project can work without these Rockstars.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, or we'll move on? Any other questions on the T1 that I mentioned, the cost of delay, or this? Let's move on to the how question. Okay, if there are no questions, and you can always come back if you think of it later. You can come back. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will give the floor to Swapnil to start his presentation. I just request everyone to go on mute and then let him finish what he's saying. It's a bit long, but just listen to him patiently. And then Balakrishna's is a short, and then we'll open it up.
Am I audible? Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Are you audible, sir?
Thank you. Yeah, great. I think was expecting many people than this, but I guess we'll just hope more people join in. But yeah, good to have all of you here. And so just to give you like a brief intro about myself, and also like how I stumble upon volunteering for this opportunity. So I have around 7.5 years of experience across various domains, from business development, engineering to now on the product side. And currently I work with Intuit. And before that, I worked with few startups, Tech Mahindra and Dell. And I am an MBA alumnus of IIM Lucknow. And so, yeah, that's a little, I would say, introduction about myself. About this idea about GPL and GPOS. So I have been following Sanjay sir because he keeps writing about making change in people's lives, right? And that's what kind of attracted me towards this idea. And I guess that's, I mean, like sir mentioned it, like majority of the people want to make difference, but sometimes do not have the avenues to do it. So I guess this can be the mechanism where you can contribute and make difference in people's life across the globe, not just India. But yeah, maybe to start with, we can start off with a small project and then kind of scale it up, but that's on the later part of the discussion. So regarding GPL, I mean, I'm just assuming that, you know, most of you like me also would be having a lot of doubts about what GPL is, what exactly we are supposed to do, what GPOS is, because these terms can be little problematic, right? If you do not have the full context. So for me, the best solution to that was to read it myself, because you can hear Sanjay sir talk as much as possible. You can read I mean, all the document that we have given, but unless you do the research yourself and obviously also go to the documents like the videos and others by yourself, but that own research is something which has really helped me get the full understanding of what GPL concept is. I'm not saying like I have the full clarity and all, but that's just my take on how, if you have any questions around this concept or the model, maybe you can start reading about GPL, which is a Joint Poverty Action Lab from MIT. Then there are a few more poverty action labs like these. There is Village Global there. So these kind of organizations have been trying to make a difference in a variety of ways, right? So that just kind of broadens your perspective. So I hope I was able to give you a little introduction about myself and how I came into this. So I'll just share my screen, and I try to not be too descriptive about things or not to bore you. So definitely feel free to interject in between if I'm being monotonous or you need a break. So happy to do this, because sitting half an hour on a Sunday evening can be challenging. So I can totally understand. So yeah, let's moving on. First of all, is my slide?
Yeah, this is better. Yeah, the slideshow mode is better. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you all see my slides?
Yeah, we can see.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see.
So moving on. What is GPL, right? So it's an open source initiative to eliminate and not just alleviate material poverty and poverty of the mind and body. So mainly what we're talking about is there are a lot of initiatives which are happening which try to address the idea of eliminating poverty. But here we're talking about not just on the financial part of it, but also on the social side of it. And both these things are quite related. So for example, like if you talk about job creations, right? With better job opportunities, you earn more. When you earn more, you have more. I mean, you're more health aware. You can get better access to healthcare facilities, and obviously you can take better care of yourself and your family, right? So it's kind of interrelated. So in case of GPL, what we're talking about is something kind of an action tank rather than just doing some research, and it's going to be a for-profit company where obviously the purpose is to make the world a better place. By the end of the day, it's going to be a business, core business, where we'll be chasing numbers, we'll be scaling up, adding more people, and obviously, like, you know, bringing the best tech stack as much as possible, best product and business mind also onto the platform. But mainly it's about creating a value in terms of dollars, right, at the end of the day. So it's going to be a business opportunity where people with ideas who can build unicorns from them, right? So we'll provide them an opportunity to get access to investors or to the governments, because they will be also part of GPL. And through that, they can then do various initiatives and try to make the world a better place. So just example I want to give you, like, imagine you are a chief of a district or a state, right? And like, let's take one example of a rural area, or not a rural area, tier 2 or 3 city, something like, let's say, Allahabad, right? In UP. In UP, people maximum know of Lucknow. Allahabad might not be very much known. So if you look at Allahabad, I'm sure the government there, or the district magistrate, or even the IS officer wants to bring more investment into the city, right? But they're not able to do it because of the lack of infrastructure or lack of ideas being floated around. And most importantly, the lack of awareness among the population. So in GPL, any citizen can be a part of that of GPL, right? So you can be anywhere in the world, in Africa, Asia, America, or in India, and you can be a member of GPL and you can contribute. So here, with respect to the government side of it, right? Like when you're talking about entrepreneurs bringing their ideas, so obviously they're talking about bringing the ideas and the investment into the particular city like Allahabad, which is a tier 2 or tier 3 city, and making and increasing the GDP of the city, as well as bringing more jobs and other opportunities as well, right? So in terms of the scale to impact, you're looking at large scale. So there's a classic term in VC market, right, where if it's only going to scale, then they're interested in basically funding. In this case, the scale is like infinite, right? You can, in India only, one district is so huge, and you have 773 districts. So you can imagine the kind of scale that you can achieve. And then you can multiply that to 152 developing countries which are existing today, right? So the scope is humongous. And obviously that brings its own level of complexities into the implementation, as well as into the creation of this GPL and GPOS, which is where we would like to have more like-minded people like those who have joined today and might be coming in the later parts of the call, to bring their own ideas and help us steer into the right direction and get this properly designed so that people from all over the world can get advantage of it, right? So moving on, why is GPL important, right? So like I mentioned, to make the world a better place. But then if you look at the majority problems which are facing in developing countries, is majorly a lot of this power is centralized into certain metro cities, right? In India, that is the situation. A lot of these tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities do not have enough opportunities for the people who are living there. They have to keep migrating to these metros, right? And I think the same applies to Africa or South Asia as well. Like there are certain distribution which is like centralized in certain cities, and because of it, those cities are getting overpopulated and I would say very saturated. And then the rural side, or you can say the tier 2, 3 sites, where there's so much scope, so much land available, so much opportunity potential is there, but not getting enough attention, right? So with GPL, having people being available on the platform from all over the world, as well as the governments, the VCs, the corporates, academic institutes, then you have these kind of stakeholders coming in together. So you can kind of bringing everyone together and then giving access to reach out to each other, right? For example, if I am a Unicorn Plus builder, I want to have access to an investor, right? But I don't know whom to reach out to, because I'm from a area where I don't know much about how to raise funds or how to scale my business. So there I can easily reach out to investors through GPL itself, right? And same way, if I am an academic institute, I have so many students in my college, I have faculties. I just want to get them involved in these ideas, give them internship opportunities or the job opportunities. So these kind of opportunities you can bring in through GPL. So look at GPL as a I mean, right now, obviously, there are a lot many components you can add, but just to give a high level, it's more about creating opportunities so that people can grow their business, scale it up. Governments can also benefit by bringing more investment, etc. And same way, the automatically the poverty, which is material, body, and mind, all will be at rest. So in short, I've written like, more unicorn plus builders will lead to more jobs, lead to more revenue, lead to more better infrastructure, to better district prosperity, and state prosperity, and country prosperity, right? So that's how you should look at from GPL perspective. Who can use GPL, right? So I think this was a question which I also had, and I was not sure like how you can bring in various stakeholders, right? So in case of GPL, because the possibilities are endless, let's start with the basic use cases, right? So for example, you have a normal citizen of a world, right? So he can log into GPL, and he can even understand about, let's say he wants to vote some leader, but he's not sure about the leader's work, and he wants to understand his background or what the people are saying about the leader. So through GPL, that opportunity he'll have.
So Swapnil, you have 20 minutes more. Huh? I'll remind you every 10 minutes.
Yeah, sure. So then you have the unicorn plus builders, where the idea is to build and the ideas from and scale it from one district to more number of districts, right? And same will go for policymaker, incubator, etc. So the idea here is that GPL will give opportunities to all these stakeholders to bring their own value and help in turn the communities prosper, right? So a few examples I'm giving in terms of roles, like one is your thought leader, mentor, and lab staffer. So a thought leader, like some of these points were mentioned by Sanjay sir in his slides as well. So thought leader is someone who can come in and help people brush up their ideas or scale it up, but they will not invest. Whereas the mentor is someone who can bring the funding part of it also, and then obviously you'll get certain equity from it, right? So there will be enough income opportunities which will be provided to all these stakeholders, right? Which is why what I guess will be an attractive proposition, because just doing it for non-profit does not make sense, right? Because then everything just depends on us getting grants or donor funding, which is not the route we want to take. So this is the kind of high-level business model we're talking about, which is the how GPLs can scale up right now. GPLs can act as the transformation consultants to a district or a state in leading some projects and getting paid on a retainer or cap success fee, etc. And then open source project that we are building, obviously that we are trying to bring more collaboration or kind of create an ecosystem which will again lead to more usage or more use cases, right? So these are the kind of opportunities we're talking about. And the metrics that we can on a high level look at, I just mentioned like number of districts, number of platform users, mentors. So again, this was coming from the Sanjay sir slides again. So ideally our vision is to have portfolio companies which will at least have $1 trillion valuation in totality, or maybe like, at least for a few unicorns. So that is the kind of vision which we are keeping for GPLs. So before I'm going ahead with GPOS, any question you have on the GPL, anything you want to ask me?
No, let's take the questions at the end. Just finish your presentation.
Sure. Okay, thanks. Okay, moving on. So GPOS. So I guess most of you are aware of what open source platform means. So I will not go in that, but just to give you an idea that, open source platform is something which can be freely distributed, and there is no particular license fee that that a user has to pay, right? Like usually that you pay for MS Excel, MS Office, etc. So our aim is to build this kind of an open source platform where various volunteers will be helping build it up, and we're targeting users like the consulting firms, VCs, or educational institutes, or these unicorn plus builders, right, who wants to take advantage of these of the feature that we are going to provide. So these are the kind of users we'll be helping in, mainly from scaling their ideas to bringing more prosperity to districts, then getting VCs back, these potential unicorns, and also kind of building a market-based platform where various stakeholders can interact with each other and then get benefit of each other's values. So these are the benefits on a high level I just kind of put in here. Let's talk from VC perspective, right? For VCs, what matters is how do they find the new unicorns, right? And I guess for us, we are trying to build that kind of a database of the repository of ideas or startups which are already seed plus funded. So we are not wanting to bring in ideas which are just on paper but haven't been tasted. So we are only looking at incorporating ideas which are seed plus around that kind of a stage. So that kind of gives the investors some kind of moat as well to come in and invest heavily and then scale it up from one district to another, right? So also a few things which I had in mind were like we can keep a full profile of startup available in one click, and same goes for the startup also to check about the VCs. And then the best thing is to hear opportunities from these tier 2, 3, 4 towns which are not, they don't have the opportunity, let's say today, right? Then coming to consulting firms, I mean, you have 773 districts in India, right? So you can imagine the kind of consulting opportunity that can generate. So it's a huge revenue generating mechanism that you have in front of you. And then obviously ready-made repository of ideas to focus on. There is a lot of brand awareness and recall, which really matters to these big consulting companies to get those kind of eyeballs, and obviously geographical expansion. For the educational institute, we are looking at active engagement of faculty, students in creating this next big idea or unicorn, getting access to idea repository, access to government investors, etc. And then obviously the jobs for internship or full-time. And lastly, for the unicorn plus builders, looking at opportunity to present to the VCs, send decks to preferred VCs from preferred domains, check profile of VCs, connect to government sources, access to talent from across the world. Those kind of benefits you can look at from each stakeholder point of view. On a high level, these are the GPOS product feature which I had in mind, obviously subjected to further additions or deletions. So like for first, which we were thinking was something else called as involving like a social media angle, which is a GPL community where users can interact with each other, post content, like, upvote, add comments, follow mentors or celebrities. So that can be one kind of a feature. Then another is idea stack, where VCs can filter starters based on domain and understand like which geography they want to target in. You will give them option to filter, and they can, I mean, this is a monetizable feature. Then VC check is basically where UPV, the unicorn plus builders will get to review the VCs and basically like, send decks or get connected to the VCs of their own choices. Again, that can be monetized. And another thing is GPL job portal, where these the people who are building these unicorns can post jobs, and we'll be showing that in GPL community, so that can be connected together. Again, this is monetizable. And then lastly, like, you're looking at document storages for the unicorns or these firms, then creating chatbot, customer service, email based, then VC portfolio and reporting dashboard. So just high level features which I had just put in, but obviously more we can think of. And high level, this was my plan on the product side, where first we have to finalize a long-term goal for GPOS. Right now, obviously, we are looking at variety of, I would say, multiple pain points we're looking at, right? But I think we need to first finalize what is the long-term goal of GPOS and identify the success criteria clearly, that this is what we're going to stick to. Then confirm the target users and the needs, pain points, finalize all the GPOS features, and then prioritize which are the features that we want to let's say develop in the next 3 months or 6 months, and then also have a product roadmap ready for next 6 months, so that the team should not face from lack of clarity. And lastly, obviously start off with a small MVP or a pilot to get feedback from early users, and then kind of iterate and make the product better. So some sample wireframes, I made it for GPL as a citizen. So if I'm a citizen, I'm logging in, like, what kind of, what kind of page I'll be coming into. So I just made this like a web browser where individual policymakers, investors, corporate, academia can log in, and everyone will have separate login. So for example, and again, we can even add a language feature where people from different parts of the world can choose their own language. So automatically the language translation will be carried out. So if you look at the effect, if we select individual, this is the screen which I will come to. I can even log in from directly using username password, or I can log in using OTP. And if I have not logged in, I can create a registration using Aadhaar ID, which is a unique identification for India, like the social security number in the US. And I can even link my Gmail, Facebook, Slack, etc. To give, more option to sign in. And then also, like, if this is like the page where once I've signed in, what all things I can see, like I can see various services available. I can even explore GPL community. I can add my favorites, my documents, etc. just for my own purposes. So just some sample wireframes I had created just for some understanding. On the platform team, I was just thinking, like, for a product like this, what kind of skills we would require, right? So we're looking at 2 product management. So I'm obviously there, but we need maybe 1 or 2 more people to help on the research side of it, discovery, product development, and GTM side of it. Then we need for product design, someone who can work on Figma, mockups, etc. One content writer who has experience with business writing, because I think that's the crux of the I would say the challenge here, because communicating the right ideas, the right content is extremely important, and for that you need this person. And engineering, the classic, which we will be working on the back end, on the back website, front end, infra, and the QA testing side. The tech stack, again, like, from my previous experiences, whatever I could think about, I just put
So around 10 minutes left. Huh?
Yeah, I think I'll be finishing very soon, so not a problem, sir. So yeah, on the tech stack,
You're doing well, huh? Yeah.
Okay, sure. So on the cloud side, obviously we have these options available, like Azure, AWS, Linode is there. Then we have open source tools we can make use of. And Microsoft, I'm looking at Power BI for data analytics, as well as GitHub or Bitbucket we can use for the source code repository. And lastly, we can use this SendGrid or Twilio for emails and other kind of activities. So just on a high level, I had put in here. What I will also do is maybe at the end of the call, I'll ask her to maybe post in, or I'll myself post the PDF file of this if someone wants to go through it. So you can go through it at your own pace. Moving on, this is actually the last slide, I guess. So I guess we are moving quite in the right pace. So yeah, and apart from the team that I mentioned here, we are also looking at people who can help us on that advocacy part, the marketing side. And we'll need someone from the partnerships as well to bring in government stakeholders, VCs, consulting firms, educational institutions, corporates to the platform, right? And obviously, because that's, the most important challenge for us is getting people to use this product, right? And for that we require a strong advocacy and strong partnership person. And lastly, since it's a global product, there will be various compliances or regulations which are particular to a particular country, from healthcare side or from data protection side of it. So we need someone who can help us with these compliances and regulations. So yeah, I guess I have saved 5 minutes of your time. Thanks.
Okay, good. That was excellent. Thank you for taking the time to put this together.
Yeah.
And I think we'll just move on to Balakrishna's
Sure.
thing, and then we'll do the questions on together on the whole thing. Okay. Okay, Balakrishna, over to you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, sir. So let me share. Everyone can see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, hey everyone, Balakrishna, but this side, basically I have introductory slide is a classic JavaScript example of string comparison. So yeah, my name is Balakrishna Bhatt and I am a front-end developer from DBS Bank and I am working professionally since last 4 years. So how I stumbled upon this is like initially I like following Sanjay sir from quite lot, like from PayPal they have like started the journey, and also when I started reading about Elon Musk, and also at then I got the tweet of Elon Musk that when they have appointed the CEO of this Starlink India. So at that time I get to know about him and I'm quite following a lot from him. So after that, this GPL concept he introduced and he give us a thought process about it, how we can make a word better and making an impact. So that is always been my passion about how we can make a word better place. So yeah, I stumble upon that and there we are. So I am talking here about the tech stack currently we are using. Thanks to Swapnil, he has mentioned a very true things about that tech stack. So there are very cutting edge technologies that we are going to use. So for front end, we are going to use a React.js to develop that platform with Next.js, Redux, Saga, Heroku, and many more. So just like Netlify you have heard, and everything's like cloud, like from CSS to cloud, we are going to use the cutting edge things. So and basically this is the open source project, so you can definitely use a numerous amount of software which are open sources. So these are the things that tech stack that I am going to so this is just high level, so not sure about it that this is the finalized, but yeah, this is what we are looking for right now. So right now we have a very certain things that we need to fill some gaps over here. So some of there are like a very experienced backend developer that who have worked with Node.js and Express.js. So preferably work with JS. That is the preference, but Java.NET is also fine. Then is a solution architect or technical architect who can design and give us a technical roadmap along with our technology and stake. Next thing is the UI UX designer who can design and develop the things in Figma or any tool, like anything which are best or suitable for their skills. So yeah, so now let's talk about what will you get apart from things that which is just mentioned Swapnil in this amazing presentation. So I have given up this that amazing Spider-Man thing, which is kind of new. So but yeah, so Swapnil has like he mentioned a very good things and some of the things. So apart from that, what you got when you join this GPOS lab and all? So the first thing is that you will learn a very cutting edge technology which are used in our industry. So for example, React.js is a very booming in our right now for front end technology. Then this Next.js, Docker, AWS, all of things are we are going to use is a very unique and very cutting edge technology. Second thing you will get is you can definitely use this thing inside your resume that you have worked on open source platform and open source things. So it will impact whenever you apply for job or you are just like updating your portfolio for either you start a startup or whatever the thing. So this will help you guys in this. And third thing that we learn from each and everything. So for example, right now, Pranjal wanted to jump on these things, but he doesn't have any tech experience. So he will guided by some of the good minds of our industry. So for example, right now, as Sanjay sir talk about this T1 concept, so that anyone doesn't know these things. So that kind of things that we are going to learn, and we are definitely have some fun while we are building this. So yeah, I think that's all from my side. So are you guys ready to come on this amazing roller coaster ride? Then if you are, then please, like, there is a one form that we have we have given. So I'll post the link at the end of the presentation, and once Sanjay sir complete, so that you guys just need to fill this form and we can simply edit you in our workspaces and groups. So yeah, I think that's all from my end, sir.
Okay, great. So I think we are done. So what we'll do is that as per our original schedule, we have a lot of time. We have 1 hour for Q&A, which is what I wanted, right? Because I just want to sort of kick off the thing and say that, like, okay, whatever questions people have, like Swapnil may have questions for Balakrishna, Balakrishna may have questions for Swapnil, others may have questions, etc. We can discuss those. And, obviously there should be a lot of questions, because typically what I was explaining to Balakrishna and Swapnil is that whenever you start on a journey to build something disruptive, okay, which could be anything, it could be PayPal, it could be like this thing which I keep talking about, responsible use of cheap credit, or it could be GPOS, okay. People just don't understand what you're talking about, right? Because if you say, oh, I'm going to build another buy now, pay later startup, or I'm going to do, like, Unacademy has these problems, so I'm going to do an edtech startup, or I'm going to do something, which is like what I call a vitamin startup, like it'll do something faster, cheaper, better. Okay. And then there are painkiller startups, like startups which are going to remove pain from the system, but nobody's done them before, right? Then people say, yeah, what are you talking about? This is like not going to happen, right? And it's some of those things which happen. So one of the benefits of working on this GPOS thing, whether it succeeds or it fails, is you will get live experience of working on something, okay, which could be applied later on in your life in anything, maybe GPOS itself. And if GPOS actually gets used to set up GPLs, you could join a GPL on their core team. You could join a VC who's, so if a VC sets it up, or a consulting company, or, an educational institution. And I'd shared some financials with Swapnil, which maybe at some point in time, he'll polish it up. And if he kind of buys into it, he can share. So what I want to say, based on all what I've heard, is, we need to now kind of define subgroups and tasks, right? So it's very much like you want to build a house, right? So you need to lay the foundation, then you need to put the walls, then you need to do the electricals, then you need to do the plumbing, then you need to put the roof, then you want to put all those kind of things. So it's almost like there's a huge number of deliverables, right? So my thing, when I heard Swapnil, and I will stop at this and then I'll come in again at the end, okay, because I want to hear what other people have to say, okay, and what their questions are. But my whole thing was that, at least in my mind, and this is, the thing where there will be a lot of discussions around this. It's not that my view is correct, okay, but maybe Swapnil's view is my view, but I don't know. So I'm going to basically say that in the concept of MVP and relating to the time to market thing, okay, so what we have is, we should have an aggressive time to market with a minimum viable product, okay, because if we believe that this is really going to help the world, right, every month that we delay costs the world a lot, right? Now we have many challenges on the way, right? See, because here nobody's paying anybody, right? Now this could have been done a different way, where we had a lot of funding and, then we are attracting, and that's got both good and bad. But so one, nobody is getting paid anything, which makes it much more exciting and challenging, at least for me. The other thing is that, so here, the other interesting piece is that if we were able to break this up into subgroups and subtasks, like let me give you an example. So I say that I need one task is that if I have to explain what GPOS is in 2 minutes, what is called the elevator pitch, okay, for a startup, right?
Yeah.
How do I do that, right? So that could be a task which somebody who's good at elevator pitches can take on and do,
yeah.
right? Then there could be something saying, I need a pitch to explain to a celebrity anywhere around the world, saying, why should you, who are a celebrity, be involved with GPOS? Okay. And how will it benefit you? What will you do? How will you get it? So we're not going to get into all that design here, but we're just saying that these are the subtasks. So if I was to list the subtasks for the product side, which I'm good at, I'm not so good at the technical side, I don't understand it that well, right? But I understand the product side. I would have a list of at least 50 subtasks. And one of the things that I'll do, and then we can discuss those and come out with a list of subtasks and which are the tasks that we need to sort of complete for the MVP and which can be done later, right? So otherwise we'll keep talking, we'll have these meetings and all that, and we won't move, right? And then it'll become more and more difficult to get people excited, to get them to join the team, because they say, join to kar le, but fir karenge kya? What will we do? How will we learn? What are we going to do here? Right? So those are my sort of initial comments. And then I'll open the floor up and I will come back at the end. Once everybody's said, okay, we have, for this particular meeting, we do, because this can be endless, right? I mean, the whole thing is, it's so complex, and so this thing, but we'll put a hard stop at 7:45 India time. So another about 38 minutes from now. And I'll take the last 15 minutes, okay? But we may, of course, if we run out of questions initially, then we'll stop earlier than 7:38 and then we'll find out. But I need about 10-15 minutes to close the session. Okay, so with that, let's start off with Balkrishna, because you are the technical guy. So just now in the role-playing thing, what Balakrishna and Swapnil are doing is like in a startup, which is trying to do something ambitious and big. They are like two founders, who are working with each other, trying to figure, okay, how do first of all, we get on the same page? Then how do we start doing little stuff, which may excite other people to join us and, do some things? And what can we do, right? So let's start with Balkrishna asking what he heard Swapnil and all. So what are the questions he has for Swapnil? Let Swapnil respond to them. And then we can open up the thing for mainly the product. Leave the technology out of this, okay? Because the technology we'll do next week, right? Let's just concentrate on product, okay? So we want more and more people to get excited, to volunteer, to join the team and all that. But they must have specific tasks to do. Otherwise, they'll get bored. They won't know what to do, right? So, okay. So that is another thing that, we should work on during the next week and try and get these things out, saying what are the subtasks that we have on the product side. In the meanwhile, this is an iterative process. So Balakrishna and Swapnil, to the extent that they get time, can keep talking to each other and keep refining it, so that, if next week we have the same kind of meeting, then with a focus on the tech and a much more refined thing on the product, which has all the subtasks and how much progress we've made. We kind of need to move towards like a Gantt chart or a PERT chart or something, whatever those tools are now, of being able to say, okay, what is it that we are trying to do, right? And the financials on the product side. Okay, so Balkrishna, floor is yours, and then you can hand it over to the rest after you've finished. And you and Swapnil have finished. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thanks a lot. So, Swapnil, one question I have is that, like you said that for idea stack, that product in feature, you say that idea stack can be monetized and this VC check can be monetized. So can you give us some more insight on that? Hello?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
Yeah. So for, you said that GPOS product features, in that you said that for idea stack and VC check, we can monetize that thing. So any example or anything like that, how can we monetize that thing? And
Just a moment. Yeah, I'll just open that sheet
Yeah,
again.
sure.
Just a minute. Yeah, so see, regarding the idea stack or VC check, right? So the plan is when somebody logs into the system, there should be some levers for them to log into, right? For example, what are they going to get from it, right? So if it's something very valuable, then we can ask them to pay for it. So for example, in the case of idea stack, it's a VC, right? So VC is looking for the next big unicorn, right? And like we'll only be adding the startups which are at least seed funded, which means the startups already have started making revenue, have figured out product market fit to an extent, and they know what they're doing, right? It's not like we're completely backing the idea only. So in this particular scenario,
So I have a slight difference of
Yeah.
opinion there.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is that, in my mind, at least, the GPOS thing was more like a Y Combinator or a Village Global VC, where you may be just one person with an idea, right? Okay. But the thing is that I think it will be in between, in the sense that you would not be C plus. You would possibly get your first money from a GPEL, okay, which may be just 1 crore for 7% of your company. Okay, you may want to take that, and this may be even very large corporates who are setting up a new entity. Okay, but they want to kind of give that 7% and use this. Why? Because of the district as a lab. So let's take a case like, say, suppose we were trying to do Uber. Right now, Uber is already a big company, but let's say we wind back when Uber was starting. Now, let's say there was one district as a lab. Let's, for argument's sake, say it was Mumbai district. Okay, which said, hey, we want to solve our transportation problem. Right now, ride sharing was not a concept at that time. Right, when I go back in history. Okay, let's say we are going back. So Uber was one of the companies which sort of said, yeah, we have this innovative idea about how we can do ride sharing and blah, blah, blah. And what we need from Mumbai as a district is we need proper regulations for ride sharing, which will be enabling. So the taxi union should not oppose it. We should have some, this thing, the surge pricing and all, there should be stuff or whatever, right? So now, like if you take the city of Mumbai, the taxi unions are pretty strong and they oppose Uber right now. That's a problem across the world. But if there was a district which said, yeah, fine, we will work with all the stakeholders, this, that, and the other, we'll get enabling regulations, we'll talk to them. So you can pilot your solution in this district. right? Now, how valuable would that be to an Uber? Now, if again, like in this district, they said we will make private car ownership very expensive. Okay, we're going to raise the parking fees, we're going to raise the registration fees because we want people to do more ride sharing and public transport and all that kind of stuff, because we are concerned about what's happening with the cars, right? So this can be a dialogue with the district and the Unicorn Plus builder, right? So there are two critical things which a Unicorn Plus builder gets. So the first thing is the critical mass advantage, right? Because if the district also said that, hey, if we give you, we're going to enable you, we're going to tell that this thing is backed and we want more and more people to use ride share. So we are going to, like Prime Minister Modi did for Jan Dhan, right? So just imagine a startup like Uber saying, okay, now regulations, we'll help you with that. Okay. So the taxi guy union will not be able to go to the Mumbai High Court and get a stay order. Or, they will not come and protest and do dharna and all this kind of stuff. And we'll do that all in consultation. It's not that so we'll work out something right up front, which could be a model for scaling globally. Okay. And at the same time, we will, and now we would say that, the ride share percentage in the district of Mumbai is 0. Okay. But how can we make that 80%? Like that at least 80% of the users in Bombay, the residents of Mumbai, have done at least one ride share in their life. Right? Now, how much money will Uber save on marketing if the government helps them do that? Right? So these are the kind of things. And then if this becomes a very successful model, consumers are happy, drivers are happy, all those kind of things, then Uber will learn such a lot that they could scale globally and become $1 trillion company. Okay. So at least that is what I have in my thinking. Now, Swapnil may have a better idea, or as a team progresses, it may be better. But those are things after discussion, we will tend to freeze. Okay. Okay, move on. Sorry. Swapnil, carry on.
No, I think I got your point. So my point was, I mean, since this is still a initial level of features, so obviously we can refine it. So I think that insight we can definitely bring in.
Yeah, and as we discuss now, it will become clearer and clearer, right? So when we used to have these discussions in PayPal in the early days, these were discussions where we would get very heated. There would be a lot of arguments. We'll go back and forth. Then we'll come and decide, okay, no, we should do it this way, not this way, and whatever, right? Oh, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the kind of thing. Okay, what was the other thing? So one was, so this idea stack that Balakrishna was talking about was that, see, we don't have to fill the ideas, right? When we do GPOS, we just have to say, okay, there is something called an idea stack where a GPEL could put in the ideas that they would like to fund or the problems that they would like to solve. So if you see in my kind of this thing, like I've done 10 use cases, right? Like there's one thing where I've given just one slide on, say, preventive healthcare for every Indian, poverty reduction, jobs for all, whatever. So it could, so normally, this GPL could be a thing saying that these are some of the things where we want applications from Unicorn Plus builders. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't apply for something else. If you have a great idea you want to apply, great, go ahead. Right? But in GPOS, we don't have to worry about what the ideas are. We just need to build the technology to say, okay, you can plug this in here, 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 some application process, which already Village Global Capital has one. We could use that, or we could do that thing. And then this could be customized by any GPL, right? So in GPOS, we just have to, so GPOS is more like Word, right? Which you can use Word to write a poem, you can write a play, you can write a book or whatever, right? So we are not building GPL. But what we are going to build in the product stream is we are going to build a hypothetical GPL user, because that will help us test GPOS. Okay. And also explain to other potential GPL users as to they may be different from the hypothetical guy, right? Or they may be similar to a hypothetical guy. So that will become a work stream in the product thing, the UAT, the hypothetical user, etc., etc. Right? So this idea stack on the other thing you were saying, VC stack, right? I think they're more or less similar. Yeah.
Yeah, VC check I was saying, basically for the Unicorn Plus builders, where they can review the VCs, profile of the VCs, and basically filter and apply accordingly. It's kind of Y Combinator only, right? Like where you can apply there and
yeah. So those could be things like the portfolio companies, the companies that have already funded, etc., etc. In terms of that. But it's also like basically so the quality of the mentors, right? Because the mentors are going to be doing the funding here, right? So we are not, so this is a different type of this thing. Normally in a VC, you raise a fund, you have LPs, then you invest from the fund. But at least in the initial GPL model, there is no fund. The mentors actually invest the money, right? Yeah. So these are so getting really high quality mentors who have actually been there, done that, getting really high quality thought leaders is what is going to distinguish one GPL from another GPL. And then corporates, I see the corporates being sponsors for content. Because one of the important things that we have not discussed in this is, to me, which is very key in the MVP, is we want millions of individuals to join. And why should individuals join? Right? Because individuals should join because they want to elect better leaders, they want to improve their own prosperity, etc., etc. So if you got corporates to sponsor excellent content, okay, now we don't have to build the content. We just have to say, okay, so today, what is one of the pain points in the internet? Like if I want to get idea on excellent content to improve my mental health, where do I go? Right? There's so much stuff. Or on financial, or on other types of. So if you can get excellent curated content, right, which is there, and basically that could be a big value add.
That's a good monetization opportunity, right?
Good monetization opportunity and stuff like that. Right?
Agree.
Okay. So what else, Balakrishna? Any other questions?
No, let's say they're open for floor. Anyone have a question, then it's fine.
Can I add something on that, Sanjay? Maybe.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I was saying, we actually started the startup community here in Munich area two years ago, and now we have grown to 3,000 people. Well, and there are some of the founders who have already established companies. And in doing this, I have spent a lot of time researching all this VC firms or all the types of startup things out there. So I think, so GPL can be something like a combination of Y Combinator And the social capital, for example, if you might be aware of that, social capital from Chamat Palihapitiya, and angel investing from Naval Ravikant, because it's for angel investing. Then
Yeah.
user.com from, again, social capital, because you can actually test your products, and there are like already registered user which will be testing your product. So yeah, it's like really excellent idea, because I can really see that it's a combination of a lot of things. If you are to choose only Y Combinator, then okay, it's great, you get funding, but there are like a lot of other things which you'll be missing out. But in this case, I mean, there are like a lot of aspects which has to come together in order to enable doing
So
things.
Prince, can I ask you a question? Okay.
Sure.
So the thing is that what is the USP of a GPL which uses, I mean, GPOS is just a software which GPL uses. It could build its own software, but GPOS makes the task easier, right? So what is the USP for a GPL? Why will a Unicorn Plus builder go to a GPL? Why will it not go to Social Capital or Y Combinator or Village Global Capital or whatever?
Yeah.
What is, because in my mind there is a single big USP which none of these things have.
I think I can already see it. I mean, so basically, if you go to Y Combinator, for example, it's more or less like you have particular users and you see the market, but then you're missing, for example, the regional growth of the regional growth. For example, if you're like a company from Mumbai, then I don't know, you might be missing certain parts of India because you will not have access to other parts of India, for example. So it's like you are building product, but at the same, you're also reaching out to as many customers as possible, just because you have access to so many other GPL. And
So in my mind, you know, the single USP which is missing in all these things so far is the concept of district as a lab. Okay, so see, because if you take Village Global Capital, right?
Yes.
Like you take the network leaders or thought leaders, you have people like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and whatever. I mean, so you probably can't get better thought leaders than that, right? Even their mentors are of a very high quality in terms of that. They have been doing this for many years. They have a good portfolio company, right? So, like if you were trying to do an impact startup, okay, probably Village Global Capital would be a good choice for quite a few. Okay, but now the whole thing is how many startups can Village Global Capital do, right?
Yeah.
And how it's like, okay, if you have only one business school in the world, right? Then how can you? I mean, then only 20 people can, you know,
Doesn't make sense.
thousands of these, right?
Yeah.
And the other aspect which this Village Global Capital does not have is it does not have the district as a lab concept.
Yeah.
That I have not seen anywhere, because the problem is districts also don't realize. So I think one of the big USPs of this whole GPL and GPOS concept, which we have to test on, because we have to test. So when we have to try and explain in 2 minutes, what is this? You know, why is it different? You know, why will it work? Right? Now it's very challenging because most districts don't want to be labs. Right? Right? And so it's all okay, right? So that's going to be something that people have to work on, right? So if you build a software, you enjoy building it, you build it like Bitcoin or something. I don't know the exact history of Bitcoin, but you built it, then it took a very long time. So Andrews wants to say something, I think. Yeah, Andrews, please come in. You raised your hand.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, it's flickering.
You please can
Andrews, we can't hear you. So maybe you have to fix your connection.
Or maybe you can also, he can also write the question in chat.
Yeah, you
then
can
we
type it in chat if you want.
Yeah.
We can't hear you. You're breaking up too badly.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Sir, can you okay. So can you clear more about the unicorn plus builder? Actually, who is he and what is
Sorry?
About the unicorn plus builder.
So who wants to explain that?
I wanted to say that.
So my question is like he has to be experienced entrepreneur with in previously he had built some unicorn, or it may be any individual with an idea which has potential to grow as a unicorn.
No, so at least in my concept, right, there are hundreds of incubators and things like that for startups all over, right? So this GPL, according to me, should be focused only on impact startups who have the potential to build trillion-dollar market cap companies. The potential. They may fail, but they can sort of prove that they have, and they must have some prototype which is ready, right? Accordingly. So to build a prototype these days, you don't need a lot of seed money or whatever. With very little bootstrap capital and friends and family money, you can build a prototype for whatever your idea is, right? So like, for instance, even for this GPOS and things, like we are now trying to do and build this without any capital, right? So there are people who, like, say, if Balakrishna and Swapnil were really founders who wanted to build this GPOS thing and whatever it was, right? And that was their idea. They could build the first version of GPOS in a prototype thing, virtually with no capital, just an investment of their time, right? So unicorn plus builder would be somebody, for instance, I mean, I've just given one idea, say this responsible use of cheap credit. They get the idea, they figure it out, they try and say, okay, we want to work on this. It's a very complex problem, but we have this thing. Or to give you an example from the past, like Google, when they did their search thing, they just built some prototype with disk drives and things which were chained together using Lego, and they demonstrated it to Kleiner Perkins, John Doerr, and that's how they got their first $1 million check, right? So that is this whole thing on what. So first of all, for the unicorn plus builders, today they have very many options, of trying to go around and doing stuff, and they have many, many paths. They don't have to wait for a GPL. But if a GPL got set up and it had a district as a lab, then maybe some people would be interested in applying to be unicorn plus builders for this. And it would not be people who have not just got an idea, but it could be people who've got an idea, got a little bit of a team, got a prototype. They may have no users. That's okay. But they have a solution. Okay. And they want regulatory changes. They want critical mass, those kind of things. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Who else has a question? Andrews, if you manage to fix your stuff, then we'll try and get your question.
I think Andrews has added his question in chat box, sir.
Oh, okay. Can we have other unicorn plus we can use as a control experiment? A list of them may help us to know exactly the weakness and strength of the existing, then we can streamline to that. Yeah. So, so you can look at, see, you may know of certain people who are trying to build unicorn plus, right? And there could be two types. One is impact, they're trying to make the world better, or they're trying to do unicorn plus. They're not really bothered about trying to make the world better, but that's unlikely. In today's day and age, most of these companies which are going to be unicorn plus will be some companies which are solving some kind of impact problem, in my opinion. It could be in the renewable space, it could be in the decarbonization space, it could be in financial services, it could be in healthcare, whatever, right? So you have to do your own scan of this, right? So for instance, like when we were doing PayPal and all, so there were users of PayPal. Some of the users of PayPal said, hey, we are really excited by PayPal. We want to join PayPal. Okay. And they joined PayPal, right? So you don't have to build a Unicorn Plus company. You can join an existing Unicorn Plus company. But even if you join a Unicorn Plus company, trying to work on something like GPOS, which will hone your product design skills for global stuff, will help you. Right? So that is the concept. So, and there are like, in terms of ideas, which I don't know too much, and I haven't done the research because I'm not looking for a job to either join a Unicorn Plus builder or start a Unicorn Plus builder company myself. So I'm not looking for that, but I put 10 ideas in my 10 use cases, which are published on LinkedIn, to give some ideas for people to work on. Now they can modify those ideas and this GPLs also could be Unicorn Plus. I mean, somebody could set up, and if they dominate the GPL market, right, they have 80% market share in all the revenue flows from GPLs, which can come from consulting, can come from doing investments in Unicorn Plus builders at a very early stage, and also from building a platform which many people use to improve their own prosperity. I don't know what, when you talk about these terms like total addressable market, TAM, and all those kind of things, then this itself could be very huge, right? In terms of that, right? And that could be a existing consulting company like Bain or Accenture or McKinsey, very unlikely, or it could be a consulting company which just wants to get into consulting and do it in a different way, or it could be a VC company, it could be Sequoia, it could be whatever, or it could be a new company, a new venture company, which tries to disrupt venture consulting or whatever, right? So that, I hope that answers your question, Andrew. Okay, so yeah, so that's the thing. So what other questions? So we have about 5 minutes before I take over, and I think I don't need 15 minutes to wind up, but I'll just talk for that. If there are no more questions, maybe we can go into the wind up stage.
I had one question, Sanjay.
Yeah, sure.
So what are your thoughts on all this lot of unicorns which are being built nowadays, maybe in India, maybe all around the world? But the trend which I see is like VC fund, some of the VC funds, this companies literally irrationally, so that it's unicorn, but it's not adding any value. So it's like kind of pseudo unicorn, just for sake of being unicorn. And there are a lot of them, which, I mean, if you look at them in the market, for example, for instance, there are a lot of food delivery startup, which according to my opinion, I mean, we don't need now 10-minute deliveries. We have already 15, and I'm
exactly. So we were tracking about 70 companies which tried to do what PayPal did, and 69 of them failed. Okay. So only PayPal succeeded. Okay. Right. So the failure rate is like huge, right? In terms of this. And now, for instance, you see, if you've been watching the market cap of PayPal, it has fallen from somewhere close to like 300 billion to less than 100 billion. Right? Stock has tanked, right? So there's no guarantee anywhere as to what is going to happen. So my view on a lot of these Unicorn Plus companies is that a lot of them will face a lot of tough times, because now you have the winter, of funding winter and all those kind
Yeah,
of,
and the correction happening.
which is a bit like 2000, 2001 type of
Or
thing.
maybe even worse. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But some of them are solid, and it's
Yeah.
very hard to say which ones are solid. Like someone was asking me what I thought of these casino type companies, gambling companies, or
Yeah.
like these things. Now, I think there is an innate need for humans to gamble.
Mm-hmm.
And if now the regulatory stuff and everything is cleared, then great, that'll happen, right? I mean, it may become a huge market, right? So if casinos are a huge market, and you can have online casinos, great. I mean, so it's very hard to say what will happen. I have no clue, right? Like I, for instance, love playing bridge. Now I play bridge on something called Bridge Base Online, which is very nice. Okay, but it's focused around bridge, and it's figured out some kind of a model. But now, if someone could figure out a really good gaming model, which is like using the newer technologies and help people with their leisure time, I don't know, metaverse, this, that, and all these terms, NFTs and blockchains, whatever, so it's very hard to say what will become a $1 trillion company and what will not, right?
Yeah.
But my point is that we need to encourage at least 10,000 companies and maybe through 1,000 GPLs, to get started. And then when we have brilliant minds working on solving real problems, not doing this whole copying, saying, okay, I will also become another food delivery company and I'll subsidize. I love it. I mean, I'm as a consumer, I love this. They're subsidizing my getting all this free delivery. I can get even one potato or something delivered to me, which is fine. I mean, but I don't understand how this works. And at some point in time, it's going to break down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions anyone has? Okay. So I'm just going to jump into the summation of this thing. And, because I had said,
just one point, sir, I wanted to make, if I can.
Yeah.
So major challenge for us is getting the right people on board, right? Especially the volunteers to build this, right? So how do we get that? Like, should we reach out to more people? I mean, that part is definitely there, to reach out to our own friends and relatives, etc. But what else do you think we should do? Because I think that's a very important problem for us to solve right now.
Yeah. I think, so the simple thing is that, for a lot of people, so like in companies like Infosys, people sit on the bench, right? You join Infosys, they may not have any projects. They kind of then get projects, and then they assign people from the bench. They train people, blah, blah, blah. You keep going on the bench, coming off the bench, etc. So one is you just say, okay, I want to register to do something on the product side with GPOS because I think it's a good learning opportunity, whatever, and I am available and I'm sitting on the bench. Okay, there's nothing specific that I'm going to be involved. Then the important thing is to have a list of activities, like I was saying, where people can say, hey, I want to volunteer for activity number 37. And then we complete it. Right? So I think that is going to be the important part, right? So one of the things that everyone who's on this call, and they can try understanding the GPOS, or anyone who hears this recording, okay, can try and understand the GPOS model a little more. If they want to get onto the bench as volunteers, either on the tech side or the product side, they can go in and get on to that. Then some of the people who want to be more active in shaping the sub deliverables or volunteering for deliverables and all can do that. Okay. In the meantime, I'm of course continuing my search for the rock stars, okay, because the rock stars then can play the kind of role that I would play. I could play this role. I mean, I'm pretty good at it, but I don't want to play it, because I would rather have someone else play it, right? So we can go very slow. It doesn't matter, you know. So that is a very specific ask, right? Saying how do we grow the size of our team of people who are saying, yes, we find this interesting and we want to work on it, right? See, because we can't expect people when we are not paying them to give very firm commitments, because some people, their situation may change, something may happen, whatever. So we need a fairly large team of people who are excited about it. And I don't know, I've never managed a project like Bitcoin, Wikipedia or something like that. So for all of us, this is something new and either we'll succeed or we'll fail. Right? So Swapnil, does that answer your question to some extent?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Got it. I think we go week by week, getting more people, bringing more people, get them to understand this and kind of build a pipeline, right? Where if someone is not there, then the other person can fill in.
Yeah. Then the other thing that people can do is that let's say you're a CEO and you're listening to this, or you are a young person who works in a large company and you're listening to this. Now you can go and talk to your boss, to other people, to various people and saying, hey, I think this is exciting. I want to volunteer on this. But what do you think? I mean, am I wasting my time volunteering, or do you think something here is going to happen? Right? So the more conversations you have with people, right? So let's say you are trying to get thought leaders to join, or say that, okay, if somebody sets up a GPL in GPOS, just like the software, we will have a bunch of people who like the GPL concept, and should a GPL be set up, they are willing to consider joining as thought leaders. Similarly, we have a list of mentors, we have a list of corporates who want to support it, list of this, that, and the other. And now these become tasks, right? Then people can go out, like say Swapnil is based in Bangalore. He can have conversations with people in Bangalore. He can involve his friends, etc., to have conversations with their people, and this can multiply. Now, those conversations will either come back and say, yeah, bakwas, it's a very bad idea. Forget it. Right? But like I said, there were some people from Israel who contacted me, or princes from Germany, right? Or whatever. Now, they may say, India may say, this is all nonsense, it's not going to work. But Germany may get very excited by it, right? Or Israel might get very excited, or Silicon Valley might get very excited. I'm going to be going to attend a PayPal reunion after 20 years of the IPO, right? So I'll talk to people there, right? And, I'll see what do they think, right? And maybe after 2 or 3 months, 5, 6 months, we say, oh, wow, this is lousy. No point wasting time on it. End it. Or it'll just emerge, and it might prove to be very exciting. So the more conversations we have, the more people we have, the more granular we get with tasks, right? Then we can move forward, and it'll be fun. So this is exactly what happens in a startup which is trying to do a big idea.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So, okay. So that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about, saying, why should a person volunteer to work on product or tech for GPOS? Right? Because if you are a young person, you have so many things that you can do, right? You can play video games till you go blue in the face and reach, nth level in Prisoner of Zelda or something, or shoot many things or whatever you want to do, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You could do that, right? You could like if you're a man or a woman or whatever, it doesn't matter these days, but you could date anyone, your significant other. You can do work-life balance, you can try and work really hard at your job, you can do very many things. But if this thing of trying to make a better world or become a professional, like really improve your disruptive innovation skills is a priority, you can also work on that, right? There are so many people who are engineers who work to try and get in, want to do an MBA, right? Then they do GMAT and then study for it and do all kinds of things. So what I'm saying is that there could be a small subset of people for whom this stuff is very exciting, right? So that is the fundamental reason to volunteer, to do this. And it's not that people are only going to learn from me, right? Like I was trying to give Balakrishna and Swapnil this example that I'm quite old, right? I was seriously good. I've done some really good stuff, but I'm old, right? So the thing is that the young people have to be better than me. They just have to, right? Because I'm not so adept at, when I used to observe things. I used to be very good. I used to understand, how, I understand the technologies. I understand everything. Now I'm not in the flow, and I'm not even interested, and I'm not hungry anymore. Yeah. So I'm now only a coach. I'm an inspirer, right? So if there are people who are listening to this and they want to get involved with a project, even if the project fails, see, this is the most important thing. You don't learn from success only. You learn from failure also, right? So suppose now, like, I don't know, in Munich, which are the big companies, whatever. I'm just taking an example. Let's take Volkswagen, okay?
Or BMW, yeah.
Or BMW or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So let's say you get a chance to, as a young person, to go to maybe even the CEO of BMW and say, hey, I want 15 minutes or 30 minutes of your time, okay? And I want to present an idea, and I would really love your feedback on it. Okay, maybe you'll get it, because this is such serious stuff, right? Like I presented the idea that became PayPal to Citibank. They didn't work on it, right? And that was $100 billion mistake.
Yeah.
In hindsight, right? So these are important things. You say, okay, look, I'm really passionate about making the world better, right? This is one concept which seems to have something. I don't know if it's the right thing, but it has something. Okay. Yeah. Can you come up with a better one? Or what are other people doing? I would love to learn. I'm not wedded to this particular concept. And maybe this concept can morph and change and, I don't know what. Right? So this is what I want to communicate to all the people who listen to this video or are on this call. Okay. And I think that's the main message. So I'll just end with that. And maybe, we can end about 5 minutes early or something because, it's a Sunday and all that kind of stuff. Right. And we can carry on these conversations, in various forums and on all those kind of things. But really, my appeal, and this is what I'm going to end on, is that I'm saying very fundamental assumption is that we cannot leave it to the geriatric leaders of the world, okay, to solve the problems of the world. That's number one, right? The second thing is that whoever the leader, whether he's old or young, okay, cannot solve the problems unless the youth and citizens and everybody, not only youth, all sections of society support good ideas, right? So people have to get involved and they have to listen, and they have to contribute and they have to debate,
Yeah.
Right. So like you take Roe versus Wade, to me now I feel so amazed that in this day and age, Roe versus Wade can be overturned. I just don't understand it. Right. But I'm saying, okay, there are Supreme Court justices, very learned people. I have not read the opinion, or what the decision is, which is like this. So I may be violently opposed to this because I can't understand how, you can deprive a woman in this day and age of her right to choose,
Mhm.
But maybe there's something I don't understand, right? Maybe I can read that, so I can understand the other point of view and I can make a reasoned argument. Now for me, this plan Agnipath or Agniveers in India is so fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it should be replicated, in all government departments and in the private sector in India, so that a large portion of the youth, they become apprentices like they do in Germany and Switzerland, I'm told. Okay.
Yeah.
And they don't go to these 4-year colleges.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my point of view. But I'm very ready to listen to other points of view, as
Yeah.
long as they're presented properly, and there's an informed debate, right, in there. So this is the problem that we have to solve. Like Elon Musk wants to buy Twitter, right? Now the problem is, like, this is all very easy to say, we make Twitter like this, or we'll make GPL like this, and whatever. But the question is, we do need informed debate, and then there has to be some way where, if the the concerns of, because there's always going to be some fringe elements who will not understand anything and they will just keep objecting and all that.
Yeah.
If there are reasonable points, then even if there is a huge majority, right, if there is something, then maybe there can be dialogue and the dissenting views can be managed, and sometimes that they end up with a much better decision. So I don't know if you've seen this movie. If you haven't, it's a good movie to see, called Angry Young Men, maybe I got the title wrong, but there are these
12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
12 Angry Men. The court drama, right? Courtroom drama. 12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men. Yeah.
One of the best movies all time.
Yeah. So it just shows, how, like, one person is holding out, and he holds out, and there's dissent, and 11 people, it's 11 against 1. But so how can you have constructive dialogue? Right? So that is what I want to try and encourage. But on that note, I think we are hitting 8 o'clock. So let's close the meeting for today, and we will work on some concrete stuff during the week, and maybe have another meeting next Sunday. Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.